Hello and welcome to Williams Mullins Trending Now, an IP podcast, a legal podcast focused on providing innovative companies and investors with important and timely information concerning intangible assets, such as patents, trademarks, copyrights, and trade secrets, as well as other legal issues in related fields such as data protection, privacy, and advertising, and customer engagement. I'm your host, Rob Van Arnhem, chair of the firm's IP section, and today I'll be joined by my colleague, Amber Duncan, a partner in our corporate section here at Williams Mullins, but also an honorary IP member, and she is here to discuss cause marketing. By way of introduction, Amber focuses her practice on helping businesses comply with advertising, tax, licensing, promotional, and corporate issues. Amber also counsels clients on launching consumer sweepstakes, promotion, and contests. Hi, Amber. How are you today?
Doing well. Nice to talk to you, Rob.
Well, thanks for joining us. I think this is a very interesting topic because more and more companies are interested in marketing in ways that shows they care about their larger communities and needs, but of course also to make their companies look good. But maybe as a way to start for those that have not heard the term before, what exactly is cause marketing?
Yeah, it's a good place to start. So cause marketing or cause-related marketing are interchangeable, and they describe marketing relationships between for-profit businesses and nonprofit organizations or charities. Like you said, it's mutually beneficial. It promotes both the business's goods and services as well as the charitable cause. And there's many forms of these type of relationships. Sometimes it's donating a portion of profits from the sale of the good or service, or an opportunity for customers to donate directly at the point of sale to the charity. Or you see a lot of companies doing donate a similar item. So you buy one, give one.
Got it. Oh, okay. And I think I've seen this most recently with like Tom's Shoes or Bombas Socks is one I've heard a lot on the radio. And I've seen a lot of companies partner with charities like you described. And it seems like a noble cause and a win-win for both. But so what's the issue? What could go wrong?
Well, it's definitely a rapidly growing area. You see, Tom's was one of the first companies to come out with this model, but you see a lot of companies approaching this relationship, especially with millennial and socially conscious consumers. But often companies don't realize that this is an area of law that's heavily regulated by the states. There are 25 states that expressly regulate cause marketing. A lot of folks don't realize that.
Okay. And so what are the type of regulations that these states have?
Of course, it varies a lot by state. Often they're under the commercial co-venture laws, and they may include registering, if you're the for-profit company, advertising disclosures, including certain language in your advertising or sales, contractual provisions, either requiring a contract itself between the for-profit business and the charity, or including certain provisions in that contract, record-keeping requirements, and sometimes in about a dozen states, even pre- and post-campaign filings.
Got it. So you mentioned requiring a contract between the for-profit entity and the charity. So is that an issue for most campaigns?
Well, for most larger, more sophisticated campaigns, there's going to be a contract. It will include all the standard terms regarding how the campaign will be conducted, how the charity will receive the profits, protection of intellectual property rights, things like that. Sometimes companies, however, want to use the name of a charity, promise to donate to the charity, but don't actually have a contract. Or sometimes they don't even tell the charity, figuring that the charity benefits, so why would the charity ever complain? But it could be problematic under these commercial co-venture laws or infringe on the charity's intellectual property rights. Companies need the permission from the person or company that owns the trademark or other IP. And as you know, it doesn't matter if you're only using that IP in a way you believe benefits the charity. You still cannot infringe upon that.
Yeah, good point. And always good to get a license or permission in advance rather than facing some kind of claim later. So is there a scenario where a for-profit company could partner with a charity without actually telling that charity beforehand?
It's interesting you ask that. California's legislators, as they often do, because California likes to lead the way, have introduced a bill last year regulating charitable fundraising platforms, and they're called platform charities. If the platform meets certain requirements, it could proceed with a charitable solicitation or charitable sales promotion, even when that person or charity has not given consent beforehand. The bill hasn't seen much action since the middle of last year, but just the fact that this bill was introduced shows that cause marketing is really a growing area and is on the radar for many state attorney generals.
Got it. And this may be a little bit of a curveball, but so you mentioned California. Are there other bills that you've seen, or how close to are we with other states enacting similar legislation?
California is really leading the charge here. There hasn't been a lot of legislative activity. Often states will wait and see what California does, and then they all rise to the California level. Often these commercial co-venture laws that the states have on hand are older laws, but they're still just now leaning on them to prosecute, where the AGs are seeing this as an active area. So they're relying on older law, waiting to see what California does, but it's definitely an area where there's some watchdogs out there.
Good. Well, that's good advice and important to pay attention. So we're getting close to our time, but what's your sort of overall last minute advice here for a company or charity that's thinking about getting into these campaigns and thinking about cause marketing?
Yeah, so there's some general advice. I mentioned a lot about these commercial co-venturer laws, but that's not the only thing that will regulate it. There's general consumer protection laws, advertising and unfair, deceptive trade practice laws. At the federal level, you have the FTC regulating this, and a lot of states have their mini FTC regulations. There's also general charitable solicitation fraud laws, which vary again by state, but will impose requirements not only on the for-profit, but mostly the charity. And just a good business practice. For instance, the Better Business Bureau looks at cause marketing promotions when accrediting charities. Now, if you're on more specific advice, if you're on the for-profit company side, there are many things you want to consider. You're going to want to allow enough time up front to comply with any of the CCV laws, especially if they require registration, any notice to the state beforehand, certain language in your advertising, enough time to plan for that. You want to confirm that the charity is registered to solicit in the state where the campaign is conducted. That's those charitable solicitation laws. And you want to make sure that the charity that you're partnering with is doing their part to comply with the laws. You're going to want to have regular accounting and turnover of funds to the charity, at least quarterly, but you don't want, as the business, to wait until the very end to turn over the funds. You want to make sure that you're keeping records. And the biggest piece of advice I can see, because this is where it's gone awry and state attorney generals have really gone after companies, is to be very specific about how you're benefiting the charity. You don't want to use a phrase such as proceeds benefit the charity or a portion of sales will benefit X, Y, and Z. It's much better to use an exact percentage or amount. For instance, $1 from every bracelet or 10% of the purchase price. You want the consumers to know how their money is going to benefit the charity before they purchase that good or service. And finally, some advice from when I've seen things go wrong on the for-profit side, might want to consider capping donations. Sometimes businesses have been caught off guard with how wildly successful such campaigns are. And if you don't have a cap and you'd promised to donate 10% of proceeds, it can quickly get out of hand. On the charity side, again, the charities would have to comply with state charitable solicitation laws. You may want to consider a minimum guarantee of donations that you'll receive from the for-profit company. You may want to structure that guaranteed minimum as a licensing fee. And in general, just think about how to protect the charity's valuable IP.
That's great advice and a lot of things to be thinking about in this space. So I think we're about at the end of our time. That's going to wrap our discussion on cause marketing. And I'd like to very much thank Amber Duncan for joining me on our podcast, Trending Now. And if you have questions or suggestions for future episodes, please contact us. You can also visit our intellectual property practice page at williamsmullen.com/IP. There you can find out more about our team, as well as past episodes of this podcast and legal alerts. Be sure to subscribe to this podcast and to be notified when our next episode post will occur. Thanks for listening, and we hope to see you again soon. Thanks.